distinguished delegates. I will now call this committee of the five-party talk on the South China Sea conflict in order. The simulation represents a multilateral diplomatic negotiation between five key parties: China, Vietnam, Philippines, United States, and ASEAN. Today, we are convened to address the growing tensions of the South China Sea, particularly in regard to China's establishment of self-locating naval bases in disputed areas. Before we begin, let me outline the rules of procedure that will govern today's simulation. Each country has one head of mission who is responsible for all voting procedures. Delegates may choose to respond to roll call as either present, which allows abstention on substantive matters, or present and voting, which obliges the delegate to vote on all substantive matters. Only procedural votes allow a simple majority, while substantive votes, such as draft resolutions, require a 2/3 majority to pass. Delegates are expected to speak in the third person, remain respectful at all times, and direct all comments through the chair. Only official notes are allowed as means of communication between delegates. If you'd like to pass a note, please hold it up, and the pager will pass it to the recipient. We will follow a structured flow of discussion, including opening statements, topic-specific discussions, presentation of draft resolutions, and voting procedures. I encourage all delegates to remain engaged, strategic, and diplomatic throughout this session. We will now begin with roll call. When your delegation is called, please respond with either present or present and voting. Only the head of mission is required to raise their placard. ASEAN.
Present and voting.
Delegate, please raise your placard. Present and voting. Okay. China.
Present and voting.
Philippines.
Present and voting.
United States. Vietnam.
Present voting.
Thank you, delegates. Delegation of China, you are recognized.
Motion to open the floor.
Motion to open the floor. All those in favor, please raise your placards. The motion has passed. The House is now open. Are there any motions on the floor? Delegation of the United States, you are now recognized.
Motion to set the agenda to address China's self-located Navy bases in the South China Sea.
Motion to set the agenda to addressing China's self-locating Navy bases in the South China Sea, called by United States. All those in favor, please raise your placards. The motion has passed. The agenda is now set to addressing China's self-locating Navy bases in the South China Sea. Are there any motions on the floor? Delegation of China, you are recognized.
The representative of China motion to discuss the topic of representing the historical, respecting historical claim, and ensuring peaceful navigation in the South China Sea over the ideology differences.
Delegate of China, you are required to open the floor for the general speakers list first. Delegation of China.
Motion to open the general speaker list.
Motion to open the general speakers list. All those in favor, please raise your placards. The motion has passed. The general speakers list is now open. Delegates who wish to be added on to the list for opening speeches, please raise your placards. China, US, ASEAN, Philippines, Vietnam. A delegation of China, would you like to clarify for how many minutes?
1 minute as a whole, 1 minute of us.
Delegation of China, you have the floor.
Honorable Chair and distinguished delegates, the delegation of China standing tall is historical sovereignty right over the South China Sea. For centuries, Chinese fishermen and explorers have used water peacefully. Our goal is not confrontation, but cooperation. We are committed to resolving disputes through dialogue, not force. China supports regional stability and remain open to working with the ASEAN nation. Again, ASEAN nation only on a code of conduct that ensure freedom of navigation and peaceful development. Let us focus on building mutual trust and avoiding action that escalate tension. Together, we can ensure that the South China Sea remains a sea of peace and friendship. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of China. Next up is Delegation of United States.
Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, the United States uphold the rule-based international order and support as the maritime governance frameworks established under UNCLOS. We respect the lawful rights of our nations under international law. Hold firmly all of things, the governance, the behavior. Unlawful historical rights, harms, or any unilateral attempts to alter the status quo. We believe that through the candid dialogue and the political engagement, the South China Sea dispute can be managed and constructively. Today's discussion is a virtual step toward the goal, and the United States stands ready to work.
Thank you, United States. Your time has ended. Next up, Delegation of ASEAN.
Honorable Chair and Senate delegates, good morning. As a representative of ASEAN, I stand here not in opposition to any one state, but in defense of peace, stability, and international law. The South China Sea is a vital artery of global trade and regional livelihood. While we recognize China's growing influence, we are deeply concerned by the ineludible establishment of self-locating naval bases within disputed waters. Such actions risk escalation, undermine mutual trust, and challenge the principles of UNCLOS, which we are bound to respect. We ASEAN call for restraint, constructive dialogue, and genuine cooperation. Let us work together to ensure that this sea becomes a shared space of opportunity, not a flashpoint of conflict. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegation of ASEAN. Before we proceed, I would like to remind Delegate 1 of the United States that the only way that you can communicate in this session is through notes. Thank you. Next up, Delegation of Philippines.
Honorable Chair, distinguished delegate, the Republic of the Philippines are the state firm the commitment to upholding the rule of the law and maintaining peace, security, and stability in the South China Sea. The ongoing militarization and the presence of the self-locating naval base polarize China to the regional sovereignty, environmental sustainability, and the freedom of navigation, and the guarantee under the international laws, and most notably the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. This body must recognize the urgency of addressing the issue to the dialogue, diplomacy, and multilateral cooperation. This is not a worry, it's a regional concern, but a matter with a global implication for the maritime security and the international law. Therefore, the Philippines strongly supports setting the agenda to address this pressing matter and encourage constructive engagement from all the parties in the pursuit of peaceful resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is the Delegation of Vietnam.
Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, the delegation of Vietnam is honored to participate in this vital dialogue. The South China Sea is not only our home, but a lifeline for regional trade, prosperity, and security. Vietnam reaffirms its steadfast commitment to international law, particularly the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea of 1982. Vietnam views with deep concern the establishment of self-locating Navy bases by China in the disputed maritime areas. These actions threaten regional peace, violates Vietnam's territorial rights, and undermines the spirit of cooperation that this forum seeks to promote. Militarization does not bring stability, it brings escalation. And Vietnam stands firm in its national interest to promote our sovereignty maritime domain, safeguarding our livelihoods of millions who depend on these waters that surround us. And
Thank you,
upholds
Delegation
peace.
of Vietnam. Your time has ended. Are there any motions on the floor? Delegation of China, you're recognized.
Honorable Chair and distinguished delegate, this is the essential need for respecting historical claim. The representative of China motion to discuss the topic of respecting historical claim and ensuring peaceful negotiation and South China Sea over the ideology differences.
Delegate, would you like to set a time?
1 minute per person, 5 minutes as a whole.
Thank you, Delegate. Motion to discuss respecting historical claims and ensuring peaceful negotiations in the South China Sea regarding ideological differences. All those in favor, please raise your cards. The motion has passed. Delegates who wish to speak on this topic, please raise your placards. China, Philippines, US, ASEAN, Vietnam. Delegation of China, you have the floor.
Honorable Chair and distinguished delegate, this is the essential need for respecting historical claim and ensuring peaceful negotiation in the South China Sea over the ideology differences. The South China Sea has long reflected historical activity, presence and administration to the China government, grounded in fact and continued usage over centuries. Maintaining peace and stability in this region is a shared interest for all states and also for the Republic of China. Open sea road are vital for global trade, and China will remain committed to protecting freedom of navigation under international law. We believe disputes should be addressed through direct dialogue, peaceful negotiation, and mutual respect without external interference. Respect historical fact, peaceful dispute solution, and cooperative development will ensure long-term stability and prosperity in the South China Sea. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of China. Delegation of Philippines, you may now proceed.
Honorable Chair and distinguished guests, the Republic of Philippines stands before you today with growing concern over China considering activity in South China Sea. Despite China ruling, most notably the 2016 Article 1 under UNCLOS, Chinese vessels continue to operate between hours of exclusive economic zone, seizing the livelihood of thousands of Filipino fishermen. Recent data from 2021 show that Chinese fishing vessels were harvesting over 240,000 kilograms of fish per day near Scarborough Shoal, depriving our communities of critical resources. Mobile fishermen have been harassed by water cannon and denied access to the traditional fishing grounds. The environmental is equally alarming. China's action has severely damaged coral reefs, and we are considering international legal action for the destruction of our marine ecosystems. We do not seek conflict, but coexistence based on law, respect, and fairness. We urge China to adhere to international law and work with us towards peace.
Delegation of Philippines, your time has ended. Thank you. Delegation of US, you may now proceed.
Honorable Chair and delegates, the United States firmly opposes the China motion on the legitimized unilateral actions under the guise of the history claims and the construction of self-locating navy base on the South China Sea violates the international law and undermine the regional stabilities as well as threaten the freedom of the navigation and principle vital to the commerce and stabilities. And the United Nations Convention on the Law of Seas clear that maritime rights is based on the laws, not coercion or fabricated by the history. China militarizations of disputed features escalate the tensions, erode the trust and violate the sovereign rights of the neighboring states. Transparency and multilateral dialogue, not unilateral imposition, are the path to peace. And we urge China to halt its destabilizing activities, adhere to 2016's arbitral tribunal ruling, and engage in a good faith with the framework through the purpose of regional information sharing platform. The world will not accept.
Thank you, Delegate of United States. Your time has ended. Delegation of ASEAN, you may now proceed.
Honorable Chair, distinguished guests, Delegate ASEAN would like to mention that South China Sea is fundamentally a body of water. It is a lifeline for trade, livelihood, and regional peace. ASEAN fully recognizes the importance and respect historical perspective, while also underscoring the necessity of upholding international law. We understand that history is complex and multiple narratives exist. However, any resolution must be rooted in legal clarity, mutual respect. ASEAN remains committed to the Declaration on the Conduct of Party in the South China Sea and call for the early conclusion of a substantive and legally binding code of conduct. In this light, ASEAN encourages all parties, including China, to engage in transparent, inclusive dialogue and to refrain from action that escalate tension. Let us work together to transform the South China Sea from a zone of contention into a sea of cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate of ASEAN. Delegation of Vietnam, you have the floor.
Honorable Chair, esteemed delegate, the delegation of Vietnam supports this motion and welcome the opportunity to engage in a respectful and open discussion on this topic. We acknowledge that historical perspectives are part of complex background and South China Sea. However, Vietnam firmly believes that such claims must be considered under international law. Peaceful navigation and essential to stability and prosperity of our region, and Vietnam support all efforts to ensure freedom and movement of commercial and civilian vessels. While we are cautious of any interpretation and challenge our sovereignty, dialogue is the best way forward. Vietnam stands ready to participate constructively and this discussion focusing on legality, diplomacy, and mutual respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegation of Vietnam. Thank you, delegates. Are there any other motions on the floor? United States, you're recognized.
Motion to discuss the topic of establishing mutual monitoring, the transparency, the framework, and the dialogue, the mechanism in the South China Sea.
Delegate, would you like to set a time?
2 minutes per speaker, 10 minutes in total.
Thank you, Delegate. Motion to discuss establishing a multilateral maritime transparency framework and dialogue mechanism in the South China Sea. 2 minutes per speaker, 10 minutes a whole. Called by United States. All those in favor, please raise your placards. The motion has passed. Speaking time is set to 2 minutes per speaker. Delegates who would like to be added onto the speaking list, please raise your placards. China, Philippines, Vietnam, ASEAN, United States. Thank you. Delegation of China, you have the floor.
Honorable Chair and distinguished delegates, the delegation of China recognizes the importance of transparency and communication in ensuring peace and stability in the South China Sea. We support constructive dialogue on regional adaptation, and welcome multilateral effort that respect sovereignty and promote mutual understanding. China is open to discuss a maritime transparency framework that includes information sharing, joint scientific research, and coordinate crisis management. However, such mechanism must be based on mutual respect and not interference from the external power and the principle of peaceful negotiation. We encourage all parties to focus on cooperation, not on confrontation, and to avoid external interference that may escalate tension. Let us work together for a peaceful maritime future within the region. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Next up is Delegation of Philippines.
Honorable Chair and distinguished delegates, the Republic of Philippines supports the motion introduced by the United States. For far too long, the lack of transparency and the absence of accountability have allowed cohesive behavior, green zone tactics, and environmental degradation to persist over waters. Filipino fishermen have been harassed, our maritime territory have been unprotected, and coral ecosystem has been notorious, often with global visibility and consequence. We believe formalized multilateral transparency framework will enhance information sharing on maritime incidents, prevent misunderstandings, and build trust among claimants and stakeholders. However, transparency must be matched by commitment to international law. We emphasize that any dialogue mechanism must be rooted in the 1982 UN clause and should recognize the 2016 arbitral tribunal ruling, which reaffirmed the Philippines' sovereign rights and exclusive economic zone. We propose that mechanism include joint incident reporting channel, allow for the third-party verification for maritime activities, encourage observer mission during joint patrol, and be open to Asian and court members to participate. Let us act for peace, for law, and for dignity for every concerned nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Next up is Delegation of Vietnam. You have the floor.
Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, Vietnam expressed strong support for this motion. As tensions in the South China Sea continue to rise, a multilateral framework for transparency and dialogue is not only a timely but necessary. Lack of clarity on military movements, artificial island construction, and resource exploitation has led to distrust and potential miscalculations. A shared mechanism to monitor activities, report incidents, and exchange data will reduce risks and build confidence among authorities. Vietnam emphasized that this framework must be inclusive, natural, and ensure in international laws, particularly UNCLOS, it should support, not replace, ASEAN-led effort with respect to sovereignty across each state involved. Vietnam is prepared to work collaboratively to shape a mechanism that promotes predictability, accountability, and peace in the South China Sea. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegation of ASEAN, you may now proceed.
Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, the delegated ASEAN would like to second the motion to discuss the topic of establishing a multilateral maritime transparency framework and dialogue mechanism in the South China Sea. The proposed framework represents a meaningful step toward reducing misunderstandings, preventing incidents, and ensuring safe navigation. ASEAN expresses strong support for enhanced maritime domain awareness, effective information sharing, and inclusive dialogue platforms involving all relevant parties. Any initiative should align with ASEAN core principles, mutual respect, non-interference, and consensus. It is essential to complement, not duplicate, ASEAN-led mechanisms such as the ASEAN Regional Forum and the ongoing Code of Conduct negotiation with China. Transparency should also address non-traditional maritime issues, including IUU fishing, environmental protection, and disaster response through collaborative and inclusive approaches. ASEAN remains committed to fostering trust, promoting dialogue, and advancing a rules-based maritime order, contributing to lasting peace, stability, and shared prosperity in the South China Sea. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegation of ASEAN. Delegation of United States, you now have the floor.
Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, the United States fully supports this motion. Transparency is not merely the technical goal, it is the foundation of trust, and the trust is the foundation of peace. As many delegates have pointed out, the very good information sharing and the struggle communication mechanism has allowed misjudgments and tensions to escalate. Multiple marking the transparency, the framework will help to prevent the misunderstanding before they become crises. We propose the regionally managed information sharing platform compete with regular multiple dialogue sections involving all claimants and key stakeholders. This is not about control. It is about responsibility. Our responsibility to perceive peace and stability in one of the world's most vital waterways. The United States stands ready to support this initiative, both technically and diplomatically, and encourage our parties to engage in good faith. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Thank you to all delegations. Are there any other motions on the floor? Delegation of ASEAN, you are recognized.
Honorable Chair and distinguished delegate, the delegate of ASEAN calls for a moderate discussion of constructive approaches to military de-escalation and resource cooperation in the South China Sea. We are speaking time of 1 minute per delegate for a total of 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Motion to open a moderated caucus on constructive approaches to military de-escalation and resource cooperation in the South China Sea, with a speaking time of 1 minute per speaker, 5 minutes as a whole. All those in favor, please raise your placards. The voting has passed. The motion has passed. Delegates who would like to be added onto the speaking list, please raise your placards. Vietnam, Philippines, US, ASEAN. Delegation of Vietnam, you may now proceed.
Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, Vietnam expressed full support for this motion. As tension persists in South China Sea, we believe the time has come to not only speak about sovereignty, but to act in interest of regional peace and shared prosperity. Vietnam believes de-escalations begin in joint naval communication protocol, early warning mechanisms, and full implementations of declarations of conduct of parties, while expediting negotiations towards binding code of conduct. On resource cooperation, we propose exploring joint development zones, beginning of fisheries coordinations and marine biodiversity protection, which are essentials in livelihood of millions across our regions. Vietnam stands ready to collaborate in good faith. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegation of Philippines, you have the floor.
Honorable Chairs, distinguished delegates, the Philippines support the motion to open moderate caucus on constructive approach to military de-escalation and resource cooperation in the South China Sea. We believe this region must shift from conflict to cooperation, dialogue, trust building, and respect for international laws, especially UNCLOS, are key to reduce tensions. We also support joint resource development that is fair, sustainable, and inclusive. The Philippines stand ready to work with all parties to turn shared waters into shared opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegation of ASEAN, you have the floor.
Honorable Chair, respected delegate, the delegate of ASEAN would like to second the motion to discuss the topic of constructive approach to military de-escalation and resource cooperation in South China Sea. As ASEAN, we believe that activities and prosperity in South China Sea is a shared responsibility, not a zero-sum game. Military escalation threatens not only regional stability, but also economic living for of millions of people. We urge all parties to refrain from provocative action and instead commit to peaceful dialogue. In order to avoid population and foster mutual trust, we support the early conclusion of binding code of conduct in South China Sea. Additionally, ASEAN calls for cooperative resource development initiative under international law, especially UNCLOS. With a focus on energy and fishery, by collaborating, we can transfer possible part of tension into opportunity of collaboration. We highlight...
Delegate of ASEAN, your time has ended. Thank you. Next up is Delegation of the United States.
Honorable delegates, the United States strongly supports this motion because, let's be honest, what is happening in the South China Sea is unacceptable. Militarized artificial islands, illegal bases, and coercive action are not diplomacy. We call for an immediate end to all illegal activity and full respect for UN Club 1982 and 2016 tribunal ruling, which clearly stated China's claims are invalid. We propose creating exclusive economic cooperation corridor in the contested areas to allow joint development in fisheries, energy, and trade, while respecting sovereignty and maritime law. We urge the international community to stand united for freedom of navigation, rule of law, and peace. Peace through partnership. That's how we lead. Thank you.
Thank you, delegates. Delegation of China, you are recognized.
To be added to the speaker list.
You are now added to the speaker list. You have the floor.
Honorable Chair and delegates, the delegation of China emphasized that peace and stability in the South China Sea region is in the shared interest of all nations. We believe that military de-escalation begins with dialogue and mutual trust and respect for regional friendship and regional nations. China is willing to work with ASEAN countries to establish communication hotline and avoid military miscalculation. We also welcome cooperation on resource sharing initiatives such as joint fishing zone and maritime environmental protection with the ASEAN country, only with the ASEAN country. Then prioritize development over division. The South China Sea should be a platform for the collaboration, not for the conflict. China stands ready to engage in peaceful and mutually beneficial solutions with the
Delegation of China, your time has ended. Thank you very much. Thank you all delegates. Are there any motions on the floor? Delegation of China, you're recognized.
Motion to start the working paper or motion to start the working on the draft resolution as a moderator caucus with 2 minutes as a whole. Thank you.
Motion to start working on the draft resolution as an unmoderated caucus for 2 minutes as a whole. This is still a procedural voting. All those in favor, please raise your cards. The motion has passed. You will now enter a 2-minute unmoderated caucus to start working on the draft resolution. Delegates, your time has ended. Please return to your seats. Delegation of United States, you're recognized.
Motion to extend a moderator caucus for the 1 minute.
Please return to your seats. We will proceed with the procedural voting for this. Motion to extend the unmoderated caucus by 1 minute. All those in favor, please raise your placards. The motion is passed. Your unmoderated caucus have now been extended by 1 minute. Please return to your seat. 1 minute of unmoderated caucus has ended. I repeat, delegates, please return to your seats. Thank you, delegates. Are there any other motions on the floor? Delegation of China, you're recognized.
The delegation of China motion to submit the draft resolution.
Motion to submit the draft resolution to the chair. This is a procedural voting. All those in favor, please raise your cards. Delegates, please raise your placards. The motion has passed. Pager? We will now enter a reading time for the draft resolution.
So, we'll now start with the preambulatory clauses, recognizing the strategic importance of the South China Sea for global trade, regional stability, and security. Reaffirming the principle of the United Nations Convention on the Law of Sea, UNCLOS,
Delegation of China?
By some person and privilege, good that chair speaks slowly. Thank you.
You're now recognized. Sorry. Reaffirming the principle of the United Nations Convention on the Law of Sea, UNCLOS, 1982, and acknowledging the Philippines of the 2016 Permanent Court of Arbitration ruling. Deeply concerned by ongoing
Delegation of the
military
United States. Oh, sorry. I mistook that as a placard.
Deeply concerned by ongoing militarization and unilateral actions that undermine peace, stability, and maritime security in the region. Committed to promoting diplomatic, legal, and peaceful means to resolve disputes and uphold freedom of navigation and overflight. Operative clauses. Urge all parties to immediately cease further militarization of disputed maritime features and reaffirm their commitment to UNCLOS 1982 and 2016 Arbitral Tribunal ruling. Promote the establishment of a multilateral security dialogue mechanism involving China, Vietnam, the Philippines, the United States, and ASEAN, aimed at developing a sustainable and peaceful framework for conflict resolution. Call for the creation of a regional maritime transparency initiative, including joint naval patrols, satellite surveillance, and communication hotlines to reduce the risk of confrontation and build mutual trust. Encourages all parties to act with restraint, avoid provocative military actions, and uphold international law, and while maintaining respect for historical claims where they align with legal frameworks. Urge the full implementation of the 2002 Declaration on the Conduct of all Parties in the South China Sea, DOC, and emphasize the urgent need to conclude a legally binding and enforceable code of conduct. Propose the establishment of exclusive economic cooperation and trade corridors in disputed areas, focusing on joint use in sectors such as shipping, fisheries, oil and gas exploration, and trade to promote shared economic benefits and reduce tensions. Advocate for peaceful resolution of disputes through multilateral dialogue and legal mechanisms, reiterating that the 2016 PCA ruling invalidated China's 9-line claim and supports the sovereign rights of claimant states within their exclusive economic zones. Emphasize ASEAN unity and international cooperation to safeguard maritime rights, uphold the rule of law, and ensure the free and open navigation of the South China Sea.
Thank you, Chair. Are there any motions on the floor? Delegation of the United States, you are now recognized.
Motion to amend the draft resolution.
Noted. All those in favor, please raise your placards. The motion has passed. We will now move on to the amending of the working paper. Delegate, do you have any specific clauses that you would like to propose an amendment for? Delegation of China, you are recognized.
Motion to amend the operator quotas issues with it include the United States and security dialogue within the region.
Motion to amend the operative clause 2. All those in favor, please raise your placards. The motion has failed. Delegates, do you have any other amendments that you would like to propose? Delegation of the United States, you're recognized.
Motion to amend the draft resolution operating clause 2 by inserting the phrase with regular annual meetings and rotating chairmanship among participating parties. So the operating clause will now read, promote the establishment of the multilateral security dialogue mechanism involving China, Vietnam, the Philippines, the US, and ASEAN, aimed at developing a sustainable and peaceful framework for conflict resolution with regular annual meetings and rotating chairmanship among participating parties.
Motion to insert the phrase with regular annual meetings, rotating chairmanship among participating parties in operative clause 2. All those in favor, please raise your placards. The motion has passed. Thank you, delegates. Delegation of China.
Motion to move to the voting procedure of the draft resolution.
Motion to move to the voting procedures for the draft resolution. All those in favor, please raise your placards. The motion has passed. We will now move on to the voting procedure. Delegation of China.
Motion to divide the House.
Motion to divide the House. All those in favor, please raise your placards. Delegate, could you clarify?
So the delegation of China have asked the motion to divide the House, which made the result to be clear, which is all delegation have or must vote yes or no without any abstain or something. By that, the draft resolution will be clear and the result will be clear in terms of yes or no. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor, please raise your placards. Are there any others? The voting has passed. Are there any other motions on the floor? Delegation of China.
Motion to move voting procedure again by cause.
Motion to vote on the draft resolution clause by clause. All those in favor, please raise your placards. All those in favor, please raise your placards. The motion has failed. Delegate, could I suggest that you don't vote on it clause by clause, but you decide which 3 clauses to vote on clause by clause and then vote the rest as a block? Please call a motion.
Motion to vote on the clause, operating clause 1, 2, and 5 by clause, and for the other in general. Thank you.
Delegation of the United States.
Motion to vote on the draft resolution as a whole.
We will vote on the first motion first. If the first motion is passed, the second motion will be automatically failed. Motion to divide the question and vote on operative clauses 1, 2, and 5 separately, and vote on the remaining clauses as a block. All those in favor, please raise your placards. The motion has failed. Motion to vote on the draft resolution as a whole. All those in favor, please raise your placards. The motion has passed. You will now vote on the working paper as a whole. Any other motions on the floor? China.
No.
US.
Yes.
ASEAN.
Yes.
Philippines.
Yes.
Vietnam.
Yes.
By a vote of 4-1, the resolution has been adopted. Delegation of United States.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
All those in favor, please raise your placards. Motion passes. This session is now adjourned. Thank you, delegates, for your diplomatic efforts and participation.